Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvaditam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadhilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavadhitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, we welcome each and every one of you sitting with us, joining us, watching Nithyananda TV, Kailasa's official TV channel. In today's segment for Nitya Satsang, we will be looking about the Kalpa Yoga and why that science is important to the world. Why does modern man need the science of Kalpa? My name is Smriti Mangalananda Maharaj, and I'll be with you here today as we go through today's segment. Sorry for the technical glitch. Before we enter directly into the segment, let me give you all a brief introduction to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and to the Kailasa nation. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, is the reviver of Kailasa, the enlightened civilization, the greatest and the only Hindu nation. Adepts of the science of reincarnation in Hinduism recognized Swamiji, whom we lovingly call as the avatar of Paramashiva at a very tender age. Revered and worshipped now as the living incarnation of superconsciousness by millions, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has manifested the best contributions of Hinduism to the world, including the science of power manifestation, yoga, and temple-based universities. The Kailasa nation is a macrocosmic, ancient, enlightened Hindu civilizational nation which does not put importance on its territory alone. Kailasa is revived by the present living incarnation of Paramashiva, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Yogananda yearned for it. Vivekananda visualized it. Yogananda yearned for it. Aurobindo accelerated it. Osho worked for it. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi mandated it. And due to their sincere efforts and hard work for the last 200 years and with all of their blessings, Swamiji has been able to manifest Kailasa for all of us. Kailasa's supreme aim is to serve the religious and spiritual needs of 2 billion Hindus and the whole of humanity. Therefore, Kailasa is a consortium of multiple micronations, educational institutions including Hindu universities and schools, the Gurukulas, de facto spiritual embassies, temples, temple monastery complexes, nunneries, food banks, the Annamandirs, animal shelters, Goshalas, libraries, Jnanalaya, the organic farming and more. So entering into today's segment, Kalpa Yoga, live beyond life. So let's first look at some facts of how the world is today. At a global level, 7 of the 10 leading causes of death in 2019 were non-communicable diseases. These 7 causes accounted for 44% of all deaths or 80% of the top 10. However, all non-communicable diseases together accounted for 74% of deaths globally in 2019. So throughout this presentation, we're going to be looking about how more people are dying from not because of old age. They are dying either mainly because of diseases, not even because of road accidents or terrorist attacks or even murders or suicides. The leading factor for deaths across the globe is diseases. And we're going to be looking a little bit more deeper and further into that. The average life expectancy decreased from 78.9 years in 2014 to 78.7 years in 2015. and remained unchanged between 2015 to 2016, and then again decreased from 2016 and 2017 to the current 78.6 years. And while this decreased number may look small, if you go down this line, continue to go down this path for the next couple of years, then we'll soon be looking at a 70-year life expectancy, not very far away, but within the next 5 to 10 years. The 10 leading causes of death remained the same from 2016 to 2017. Heart disease, cancer, unintentional injuries, chronic lower respiratory diseases, strokes, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, influenza, pneumonia, kidney disease, and suicide. The top risk factors for premature mortality are diet, high blood pressure, obesity, and tobacco use. Tobacco remains the second leading risk factor, despite the 37% decrease over the last 2 decades. Standardized rates in current smoking prevalence. Cardiovascular diseases are the leading cause of death globally. The second biggest causes are cancer, followed by diabetes and respiratory diseases. Deaths from causes such as infectious diseases, malnutrition, nutritional deficiencies, neonatal and maternal deaths are common and in some cases dominant across low and middle income nations. In Kenya, for example, the leading cause of death remains diarrheal diseases. In South Africa and Botswana, the leading cause of death is HIV and AIDS. So as you can see through all of these facts, figures, statistics, no one is dying because there is very low number of people who are dying because of old age and a natural death. Majority of all deaths which are happening globally are fundamentally due to some or the other illness, especially related to the heart. Coming to India, as the statistics in the graphic show, heart, respiratory, diarrhea and chronic renal diseases along with tuberculosis, asthma and neonatal disorders kill lakhs of Indians every year. But diseases aren't the only killers. In India, close to 500 people die each day in traffic accidents alone. It is clear that in some countries, daily deaths have reached rates 50% or higher than the historical average of time period. If you can see here in this graph, these lines which are grey in color, this is the previous year and the lines in red is 2020, and you can see how there's a sudden spike, be it in the United States or in England or in Spain and Netherlands. It has spiked up drastically compared to previous years. These statistics show the daily death per country based on 2017 data. So per day we have 28,000 people dying in China, 25,000 people dying in India, 7,000 in the US, 5,000 in Russia, and the numbers go on. And it's not just disease and road accidents or physical factors which lead to premature death. Loneliness and social isolation are an ever-growing complex challenge in society, with Beaumont reporting in 2013 that 59% of adults aged over 52 with poor health say that they feel lonely often. This new study has presented concerns about the effect it has on the heart and risk of premature death. The study investigated over 13,000 patients with ischemic heart disease, arrhythmia, heart failure, or heart valve disease, and whether a poor social network was associated with an exacerbation of these conditions. So this research study directly proves that because of loneliness, people feeling that they're alone and that they're orphaned directly impacts their heart, has a physical impact on their body, and is a prominent cause for them to die prematurely. The science of Kayakalpa is working on sound by being established in silence. Not just verbal silence, but mental silence, where only you and existence are there. It is just a beautiful music between you and existence. Before we continue into the further parts of this presentation, along with myself, I have few devotees, disciples joining us from various parts of the globe. We have Along with myself, I have Shri Ashtoshananda, Sri Nithyananda, Renoshan Enlightened, and Sundaresha Maharaj, all of them joining us from different parts of the world to be here today, to be a part of today's segment. Thank you all so much for coming today and being a part of today's Kaya Kalpa Yoga segment. So before we continue any further, why don't you all go ahead and introduce yourself. We can start with Sundaresha Maharaj. Maharaj, please go ahead and introduce yourself, and after our introductions we can continue and go ahead with the presentation. Please go ahead.
Nithyananda, everybody. Excuse me for my voice, but my name is Sri Sundareshwarananda Balasan from the Nithyananda Gurukul, and I've been in the Nithyananda Gurukul living with Swamiji over the last 10 years and directly receiving the guidance, blessings, and living the superconscious lifestyle and reaching it out to as many people as possible in every way that Swamiji is constantly sharing with every one of us. So today, I'm here on the panel for this beautiful Vakyartha Sadhas on Kaya Kalpa Yoga. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Maharaj. Ashtosha, Sriniti Ashtoshananda, why don't you go ahead next and introduce yourself for all of yours. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. My name is Srinitya Ashtoshananda. I was born in Montreal, Canada. I met Swamiji in 2014 in the Inner Awakening that was conducted in Varanasi, Kashi, India. It was literally a life-changing experience, which led me into taking and receiving Swamiji's initiation into Karma Brahmacharya 2014. I've been with Swamiji since then, and the Sangha as well. So looking forward for today's Vakyartha Sadhas. Thank you for having me on the board. Nithyananda.
Yes, thank you so much, Ashtoshananda, for coming today, being a part of today's segment. Sriniti Nyanatmananda, why don't you go ahead next and introduce yourself for all of yours. Please go ahead.
Nithyananda Maharaj, thank you. I've been initiated, blessed by Swamiji with the spiritual name of Sri Nithyananda. And I'm from Canada. I was working and living as an elementary school teacher and computer engineering technologist. And I traveled to India in 2009 for the Inner Awakening program. And I've been living a full-time spiritual lifestyle since 2011. And I was initiated into the path of Brahmacharya in 2015 by Swamiji. And since then, understanding more about the trajectory of the world and the educational systems and how Kailasa fits into that and what are the spiritual needs. And so it's been extremely enlightening, and look forward to sharing and growing and sharing more of this with the world. Thank you, Nithyananda.
Thank you so much, Sriniti Nyanatmananda, for coming today, being a part of this segment, being a part of this panel. Renoshan, please go ahead and introduce yourself for all of yours. Please go ahead.
Nithyananda, thank you, Maharaj. My name is Renoshan Edmund, and I'm from Toronto, Canada. And I'm an initiated disciple of Swamiji. I've gotten to know Swamiji since around 2013. Really, the first click that happened where the life transformed was Swamiji's call to action for the Cambodia IA. And since then, it's just been consistent intensity with continuity. I ended up eventually being able to receive Swamiji's physical darshan in Paramashivoham. And really, it's just been one continuous I can say journey, explosion, so many things I could put, but really every disciple knows the experience that I want to convey. And yes, I'm really excited for this Vakyartha Sadhas about Kaya Kalpa Yoga, as the science of sound is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Thank you. Nithyananda.
Yes, thank you so much, Renoshan, for coming today, being a part of this panel discussion. So let's get through exactly what is Kaya Kalpa. If you think the person in front of you doesn't know something or you need to convey, you will talk to that person. But here, only Paramashiva and you exist. Paramashiva knows everything before even you think. So there's nothing to think, nothing to talk, nothing to communicate. When you sit with this cognition, you experience Mano-Mauna, the mental silence. In Swamiji's own words, my Guru Isaki Swamigal was a great yogi. One day, he announced that he is going into the Jiva Samadhi. Just like that, he sat and then immediately went into the Jiva Samadhi. That's all. His body became stiff. People around were preparing the ground with vibhuti, salt and vilva to bury him. But there was a problem. Isaki Swamigal was in the half lotus posture, the Artha Padmasana. According to scriptures, Jiva Samadhi should be built only when the yogi is in the full lotus posture, in Padmasana. His disciple, Mata Vibhudanandapuri, who is Swamiji's guru, told Swamiji to do something. Everyone was scared that if we move the legs and keep it in Padmasana, if we do some damage, it is a great sin. Jiva Samadhi yogis are like an atomic power station. Swamiji was scared and confused. Swamiji just prayed to Isake Swamigal, Ayyane, what is this Leela? And immediately Isake Swamigal's leg opened up itself and closed and sat in Padmasana. There are still proof, some people are living proof who saw this with their real eyes, really real. And here we have a picture on the side of the Guru Parampara of Isaki Swamigal and Mata Vibhudanandapuri and the supreme part of Hinduism, Swamiji himself sitting there on the Guru Pita at Panchamukam in Tiruvannamalai. The Kayakalpa lifestyle is extremely simple. Being in silence, the Ajapa Japa, continuous chanting the Mahavakya and doing Nithyananda Yoga 3 times a day. With these lifestyle practices, the body becomes extremely pure and detoxed. Swarupa Samadhi is the highest state in Hindu tradition which can be manifested through the science of Kayakalpa Yoga. Neem juice, argambul juice, vilva juice and various herbal juices and other herbs are used for detoxing the whole body to align it with the Swarupa Samadhi. With Kayakalpa, you will become healthy. The whole body will get filled with the Kundalini Shakti. So, this is going to have a small presentation about the Kayakalpa science. And Swamiji himself has elaborately spoken about the science of Kayakalpa in multiple Satsangs. So, today's discussion, we're going to be looking at how the world has ended up in this situation where people are not dying because of natural causes, they are not dying because of old age, but they are dying mainly because of diseases and the heart disease in particular, cardiovascular disorders and the other major disorders, diseases with which people are suffering with are all dominantly heart related. Why is the world suffering so much from heart related disorders? Why are so many people dying from heart related disorders, and how can the Kayakalpa program help them in fulfilling, in protecting, in healing, giving completion to their emotional problems, to their heart, and enrich them, fundamentally increasing the longevity of a person's life. Actually, if you were there with us in yesterday's discussion, where it is Shri Nithyananda had shared a beautiful point of why we should not commit suicide, how this body is a gift to us, given to us, granted to us, not just gifted to us, but a choice which we have taken, a conscious choice which we have taken, we have asked for, and we have assumed this body. And committing suicide is nothing but just throwing away that chance, throwing away that possibility, and letting everything get dissolved. Kayakalpa program is increasing that possibility, allowing you to fulfill the purpose what for you came to this planet, what for you have decided to assume the body, and to increase and live not just a healthy life but a happy and blissful life as well. So, coming back to the questions, why is the world suffering so much from heart related problems, and how will the Kayakalpa program help them to come out and bring completion in their emotional aspects? Sundaresh Maharaj, maybe you can start off the discussion for us by maybe giving a diagnosis on why the world is suffering so much from heart related disorders. Please go ahead, Maharaj.
Yes, thank you very much, Maharaj. So what I actually feel on this particular issue is that the reason of the heart related problems, or for this case, any problem which is not natural but created. So that's what is actually taking the biggest toll on life. Whether it's accidents or whether it is diseases, those are created by each and every one of us based on our body. So I think at the very fundamental level, the cognition, the idea that we have about our body, the idea that we have about God, about the people around us, about the individual self, all of these are directly contributing, and all of these are having a direct impact on our health. Just to take any one little angle and aspect of it. For example, as Swamiji always says, if we think life is just like one birth, okay, which many of us think and are living with, that one cognition is enough to destroy the entire human body that we have. Because just with that one cognition, thinking that we just have one life, so we want to dump our body with the extremes of everything, try out everything, taste everything, just do everything that is possible, humanly possible, thinking that this is the only thing, and then you destroy yourself. So somewhere I feel that at a fundamental level, because our ideology about who we are, who the world is, and who is God, at these levels itself, because there is I can say, a lack of knowledge, or just trying to find a better word, where we are really in a situation where we don't know what life is at all. And I think that is the leading cause of why deaths happen. And cardiovascular disease is one of the biggest disguises I think it uses. But again, there's something else that is much more deeper to it, is what I feel. And I'd like to hear from every one of you your thoughts on the same.
Yes. One click that I got from what you shared, Maharaj, is the space of not having clarity about the Jiva Ishvara Jagat, the world, the self, and God, universe, all that is. Not having clarity about these things brings the space of, I can even say, kind of like the tantrum throwing child, where they start blaming everyone and everything for whatever's going on. And then from there, it's like Swamiji shares, or how I remember Swamiji sharing, is when you start hating somebody or having vengeance against somebody, you're actually putting poison into yourself. You're trying to kill the other person by eating the poison. It makes no sense. So the solution is what? It's the completion, having clarity about what is life, having the right cognitions about life, having the right cognitions about the Jiva, Ishvara, Jagat, having the mature conversation with life. When the mature conversation with life starts to happen, naturally you start to form the tools to start handling the life. You start to develop the tools to start handling not just the world around you, but also you start to develop the tools to handle your own self. The capacity to handle yourself, the swatantra, starts to develop. And so when this swatantra starts to develop in anybody, then the real joy for life starts to happen. Then the real diagnosis starts to happen. You can actually look in and see, why am I manifesting what I'm manifesting? Why is this health issue happening like this? What can I sincerely do to attend to it? It's never the compulsive reactions, never the compulsive behavior. It's mature conversation with Jiva, mature conversation with Ishvara, mature conversation with Jagat. When the mature conversation with life starts to happen, the health starts to manifest. Not just the physical health, but the real conscious health. The conscious health is actually very related to the conscious wealth, where your very expression of life is such a healthy expression. It's such a rich, organic expression. And in this space, not even just talking about the physical health now, and even the mental health, there's no question of even being depressed. There's no question of being under some physical illness, these incurable illnesses, I can say. There's no question of this, because you know what is going on. And if you don't know, then you know how to have the right conversation. You know how to use the right tool. You have the clarity about what needs to be done. And so this is one click that's starting to develop about the space of why are we manifesting all these diseases in life, but also how to address it. How can each individual start looking in and seeing, okay, what is going on in the body? How can I address this? Once every individual starts to look in and see what is going on, then the number of deaths due to self-inflicted illness drastically drops. So this is my initial take on this subject. Thank you.
Yes, adding on to that, for me, what I see is see all the problems we have, cardiovascular problems included, are born out of life negative cognitions. And the Kayakalpa program, or the Kayakalpa science, which Swamiji has brought back, is a science which raises you, it detoxes your body, it raises your awareness, so that you can have a deeper listening within yourself, in your inner space, and you can identify these life negative cognitions and change them with powerful cognitions. In the Kayakalpa, Swamiji, he makes us, he guides us towards how do we manage our words outside, the words inside, like doing yoga, having the detox. Swamiji said that the root of all the problems are basically the pattern of hunger and sleep. And the Kayakalpa Yoga is a program which directly tackles the root, the hunger and the sleep. So by engaging with the hunger and the sleep and bringing completion, deeper and deeper completion with the hunger and the sleep, the awareness raises in the being, and with this awareness, he can drop life negative cognitions and become life positive, become more and more active and alive. And that is that's how I see the Kayakalpa science being a blessing and a solution for hard problems. But for much more than just hard problems. So that would be my initial take on the Kayakalpa regarding cardiovascular issues and other issues that humanity is facing today.
Yes, thank you so much, Renoshan. Thank you so much, Ashitosha, for sharing your initial take on why you think the world is suffering so much from heart-related disorders, cardiovascular, heart disease, and how loneliness is actually contributing towards these problems of heart disease. If you see the heart, it's the Anahata chakra, where it's directly related to your emotional well-being and the attention need which you seek. And feeling lonely, feeling that you have no one to support you in the world, you feel like an orphan. I think this is something which is very prevalent among many people around the globe, and as the statistics themselves show, loneliness directly affects people, and people who suffer from these kind of cardiovascular diseases, these kind of heart diseases, most of them have reported that they feel lonely and they do not have a strong social network. So fundamentally, the problem of today's world, of today's society, is not even the diseases or the way it's being combated, but fundamentally everyone feeling that they are lonely, that they are an orphan, that they have no one out there to look out for them, that they are abandoned. And actually that is the leading cause of all the diseases which we are facing today. Loneliness is the leading cause, not heart disease, not cardiovascular disease, but loneliness. Loneliness is the root of where cardiovascular diseases and other heart diseases, everything else emerges from. If we can give completion, if completion is given in that aspect of a person's life, if they are made to understand that there is no such thing as being alone, being lonely in the world. It is the whole space of Advaita, fundamental principle of Advaita is that where everything you see, be it your laptop, be it a person in front of you, everything is in the same space of oneness, is in the space of Advaita. Giving this experience of Advaita to the world, making them understand that they are not a single island, that maybe on the surface, from a bird's eye view, we may all look like individual islands, but underneath all the islands are connected together. And there's in this very example itself, there's so much Swamiji himself has spoken about how we are all in that space of Advaita, and we are all not individual islands. No matter how much we would like to think that we may or may not be individual islands, we are all very much interconnected. So I think fundamentally giving everyone this understanding of the space of Advaita will help in curing curing all heart-related diseases and cardiovascular diseases. Shri Nithyananda, is there anything you would like to add at this point?
Yeah, Nithyananda, thank you very much. Yeah, it's great. It's super to be part of a group of young men who are talking about this. Yeah, I've since about 1999 been working mostly full-time with youth, from the ages, from even in preschools up to seniors, and from all perspectives. I actually grew up as an ice hockey player, but yeah, it's Swamiji, it's just, that's what, right? The discourse, like even the mainstream media discourse, maximum you get is like a political analyst, right? You get an attack, or you get a suggestion that we should move in some direction, or a legal attack, or a criticism, but there's just no solutions. There's just no solutions. And so, obviously, the sort of irony is that there are solutions available, but, it's not spoken about, and that's not accidental. Even British writing from even, 1800s is very, 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 very clear, very, very, very clearly knowing, even 1700s, very, very, very clear about what's happening in India is, for hundreds of years before that, they're receiving shipments from India. So, but even statements of, obviously Macaulay and whatnot, on the state of Indian civilization is very, very, very clearly there is not a beggar anywhere. Even the farmer in the rice field knows more about Atma and the cycle of life and incarnation than even the highest society of the European civilization. So yeah, so it's it's there, but it's just not taught, and that's the thing. I heard the other day, I heard a mother say to her son, he was experiencing some strife, some conflict. The mother said, "Just tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you." And I just thought, yeah, that's the problem. You can't buy what people need. You can't buy what people want. What they, what their soul needs. But there's this constant thing of what can I give to you that will, satiate your, lust or anger. And what you can give? You can give the enlightenment knowledge. And so that's always been my understanding of Kaya Kalpa, even as Bhishma declared his eternal brahmachari, is the Kaya Kalpa is the eternal life. And so what is that? And if you see the food, actually the food is how does the body respond to food? It immediately stops all other processes and says we have an emergency situation where if we don't start digesting and cleansing what's being put into the mouth, if we don't start immediately dealing to excrete that, to process it and get rid of it, we're going to die. We're facing a life-threatening situation. That's how the system functions. If you start eating, all other systems stop in precedence to process the incoming food and get it out, because if you don't, you're going to choke to death. So the body itself, the way that we view that we treat the body actually is sort of like a garbage bin. But what the body's doing is taking our life experience and purifying it and detoxifying it and allowing us to express. So we need to shift that understanding of what is the body from being a garbage bin that when it gets overloaded with food, it then collapses into sleep and wakes up in dizzy confusion of brain chemicals and flooded system of whatever else in a full intestine, to the body is this beautiful vehicle and possibility to purify whatever's put into it. And so that is sort of when the intestine is not constantly overloaded with shit and the need to constantly cleanse itself, that huge furnace cleansing capability can be put into not just cleansing being piled, completely inundated and covered in a bunch of gunk, but it can use that for further purification purposes. Every cell of the trillions of cells in our body is an expression of consciousness. And when that cell becomes purified to operate from inspiration as a source of energy, which we all know is a much greater source of energy than food, inspiration can break any laziness. So it's about just, shifting that discourse and understanding. So there's an ancient civilization that has all those solutions. It's just not, for many reasons, not told. And so not just young men and children, but the entire human civilization is stuck not being exposed to this.
Yes, so I would just like to add to Jnanatma Maharaj here. So as Jnanatma Maharaj was sharing some of the fundamental points, so one other thing that I also feel is that our idea that we carry about our body. Okay, so as you was telling, we treat our body as a dustbin. So we just keep dumping stuff into it and pretty much use it like a dustbin. And that's again very much obvious, especially in connection to the heart diseases, which is also the leading cause. Okay, just like how the attention and the loneliness is there, even the physical side of it. So whenever we feel lonely, what we actually do, many of us connect food with depression, loneliness, frustration, anger. So what we do is we immediately go and start stuffing ourselves, start drinking, eating, and what actually happens, so as Swamiji very beautifully says, the food that you eat is not just food. You eat everything else which comes along with it, which is the memories which each of that food holds. So naturally, when you're eating it, when you're frustrated or irritated, you're dumping that food which is negative into you more and more and more. So naturally, you are bolting that negative experience in your system permanently, or making it as a part of your muscles itself. That's what Swamiji says. Whenever you're in some confusion or whenever you feel powerless about something, do nirahara. It'll get you out of that confusion. That's because you're not dumping any more toxins inside your body, but rather letting your body eat itself and cleanse itself. So the Kaya Kalpa Yoga itself is actually, I would say, a beautiful ecosystem that is given for every one of us, so that we are able to practice this science. We are able to live this science. As we know, if you want to become a doctor, you go to a school of doctors. Want to become a lawyer, you go to the place where law is practiced. So same way, people might ask, oh, I can stay at my house, I can do the detox, I can do the yoga, I'm doing the puja. But it doesn't work that way, because there is something much more than that. If a normal profession itself needs you to take that kind of movement and go and learn with those professionals, then this superconscious science can only happen in the breathing space of an avatar, where the avatar, actually the enlightened master, in our case, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasanidanam Swamiji, he specifically energizes an ecosystem where this lifestyle can actually be practiced. Whether it is a lifestyle of silence, where you are just, there is no need of any external communication, or the lifestyle of Nirahara, or the Kutakesha, all of these various different lifestyles that Swamiji is designed for us to experience the Kaya Kalpa lifestyle. I think for experiencing that, you need to come and experience an ecosystem, so that the real potential of your body is experienced. Now we are looking at ages, lifespan dropping down to 78. But just maybe 1-2 generations earlier, be it our grandparents or great grandparents, we have seen them, we have heard of stories for sure where people live for over 100 plus years. And it has all just come down just like that. So I feel this science, as Swamiji said, he's reviving that very same science. So I think that is where Kaya Kalpa comes in. And it is one of the biggest gifts that Swamiji is giving the entire humanity. That's the way to live. So yes, so this is one other point I just wanted to add.
One very strong cognition that's happening now, as everybody's sharing, is the space of Kaya Kalpa is the space where you're in the Mano Mauna with Paramashiva. Meaning it's the space where it's a constant conversation with Paramashiva, where you know any word that you can say, whether outside or inside, Paramashiva already knows. So you're just sitting in the silence with Paramashiva saying, knowing that any thought that's happening, any word that wants to happen, anything that's there, you already know. So the I can't even say it's a conversation, it's something completely else. That being said, the space of Kaya Kalpa is this space where earlier we were talking about the body, the heart, and these things, and how the heart is, the major block in the heart is the attention need. And especially when it comes to dumping food in the body and these kinds of things, because we're not paying attention to what the body is actually saying. We're not paying attention with the body saying, hey, no, it's enough. I have enough food. I have enough. Please stop. Because we're not listening to the body when it's speaking to us, we go on dumping food. We go on dumping different visual food, auditory food, sensory food, all these things. We go on dumping without ever listening to the body, without ever paying attention to the body, without even actually acknowledging the body. But in the space of Kaya Kalpa, in this ecosystem where Kaya Kalpa is happening, it's a space where you're constantly in the listening space. It's the Mano Mauna. You're always listening to Mahadeva. If Mahadeva says he's hungry, okay, let's go eat something. If Mahadeva says, okay, time for yoga, let's go do yoga. If Mahadeva says, okay, time for rest, you go rest. But it's always Mahadeva. It's always Paramashiva. Actually, one very strong click that's happening is with the Kaya Kalpa, the individual will actually starts to wither away, where it's only the Paramashiva's will that's manifesting, even physically. Physical manifestation is Paramashiva's will manifesting, where if Paramashiva is hungry, then the body goes to eat. If Paramashiva wants to rest, then we go to rest. If Paramashiva wants to do yoga, then the body goes for yoga. But it's this constant engagement where the constant, the heart is completely attended to. Attention is paid to the body, not just to the body, but to the very consciousness itself. Everything is there. It's real engagement with Paramashiva. So this is just a very one strong click that's happening about the science space and ecosystem of Kaya Kalpa, where it is bringing the attention back to living with Paramashiva. So this is just one strong click that I wanted to share.
Yes, thank you very much. And yes, that was actually another very strong thing that you had shared. Ashutosh Maharaj, what do you think about this particular aspect of it? Because when you had explained about how the negative emotions or the negative thought currents actually have a direct impact, how do you think, or what do you think is the importance of Kaya Kalpa, where it's very crucial to be in an ecosystem where you're actually protected during that particular time? What is your ideas, or what is your opinion on that, if you could share?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. The Vatavarana, the environment in which you are, is extremely important, especially when you attend to these root patterns such as hunger and sleep during Kaya Kalpa. These are the main patterns you kind of tackle by engaging in this science, this Kaya Kalpa science. And when you start to look and sit with yourself and kind of learn how to relate to yourself again, relearn, there are many points where you become very vulnerable in a way that it's very easy for you to just fall into a life negative cognition, a life negative cognition that you would have cherished your entire life and that you associated yourself with very strongly. So when you are in the right ecosystem, the chances that you are going to fall back into that life negative cognition is drastically reduced, which is important for you to have the breakthrough, for you to just fall on the other side, the life positive, active side. I can share also a little bit from my experience. When I did the Inner Awakening in 2014, I used to be addicted to computer gaming for many years of my adolescence and young adult life. And within 21 days, it was over. 10 years of addiction just gone. Why? because for 21 days I was with Swamiji in an environment energized by him, where you were always encouraged to to do different forms of completion, or different forms of processes which help you to detox yourself, to raise yourself to higher frequencies. And when you do that, then the life negative cognitions, they simply wither away. When you stop feeding them, they just disappear. Swamiji says they're dead snakes. Once you stop infusing life into them, then you will just see it's only a dead snake. So in that way, that environment, the energy which is infused by Swamiji in the ecosystem in which the Kayakalpa is practiced, helps you tremendously. And this path, the path of is the path where you need support. You need the right support for you to be successful. We've been going through the cycle of life and death for janmas, for lives and lives, and just repeating the same patterns and thinking that you can postpone it, you can sleep it off, you can eat it off, but you can't. You have to complete it. You have to go through it, have a breakthrough, and raise yourself to the next level. So so the right ecosystem makes that happen for you quickly. And obviously what Swamiji is doing for us is amazing, because all the powerful cognitions every day he brings in a different angle. He creates so many different platforms in which you can engage, and in which you can you raise yourself constantly, and break these life negative patterns and all the health issues and other issues which are born out of these life negative cognitions. So that's one of the main thing I would share regarding the importance of the ecosystem, and everything which Swamiji is providing for us in order for that super conscious breakthrough to happen.
Yes, one thing I could add on to this is like you're sharing, it's the ecosystem is too important, really. One real click that's happening is when you're in an ecosystem where Kaya Kalpa is happening, you simply catch the science. You simply mirror the science. Even if it is taking you some time to imbibe, when you're in a whole ecosystem where every individual, the whole space is literally radiating the Kaya Kalpa, then it's like an incubator. It's very easy for you to not only pick up the science, but to settle in it, to settle in the science where it becomes first your muscle memory, then it sinks down to your bio memory, sinking down even further to your bioenergy. The space where having this vata varana, having the ambience where these constant, whether it's the actions or the cognitions or even the very vibrating, the listening space, all these three play a very important role in actually impacting even on the physical level, let alone the conscious level and the cognitive level. All these spaces are also there. But even on the physical level, having the vata varana, having the ecosystem where you can really settle into the science, it's almost like a guarantee that it'll happen.
Yes, thank you all so much for all the points you shared, understandings and the powerful cognitions which you all have delivered here. I would just like to add one thing to a point which Sundaresh Maharaj had been bringing out about why it is important, where you may think that it's nothing big, it's just the Nithyananda yoga, doing it 3 times a day, and the detox and a certain diet. Why can't we follow this from our home? Why is it necessary to come to an ecosystem, to come to either an energy field like Bididi or Tirunamali, where the Kayakalpa program is happening? Another important reason for the Kayakalpa, and Swamiji himself was doing the Kayakalpa once back in 2000 before he started his public mission, and very recently, a couple of years back. An important aspect of the Kayakalpa program is going into seclusion. It's funny how the solution for feeling lonely is to withdraw yourself from society. As we actually went through the slides in today's presentation about the Kayakalpa yoga, Kayakalpa is not just silence, it is about mental silence, without any verbalization externally or within yourself as well. And it's actually a very beautiful technique, how you bring yourself closer and closer to yourself and then finally dissolve yourself as well, where there's nothing, only Paramashiva left, only how when you start off the Kayakalpa process, it is you and Paramashiva, and then as the process goes and goes, finally you dissolve and it's only Paramashiva which is left. And when you come to that space, when you are living in that space of Paramashivoham, of living, breathing, radiating, manifesting Paramashiva, that is when you experience the space of Advaita, experience the space of oneness. And ultimately it is oneness which is going to cure all of the world's problems. In previous segments, we've gone through different problems which society is facing, and how dysfunctional society has become due to these various problems. Though the problems and reasons for it may be many, the solution for it is the same. In Hinduism, it's not the Hindu Dharma. So many thousands of years ago, when our ancient rishis and siddhas, munis, when they designed our society, when they designed how society should function, it was out of the context, out of the fundamental principle of Advaita, of oneness. And that is why in whatever field it may be, we didn't have any problem. It was the perfect society. Compared to today's society which we are living in, today's modern dysfunctional society, each and every aspect, each and every profession, each and every facet of today's world has some or the other problem. We are faced with some or the other obstacle, faced with some or the other place where people are committing more and more suicides, more and more stress, more and more anxiety, for things which we may not even have a word for it in Sanskrit because it simply did not exist at the time. So, whatever it may be, finally coming to that space of Advaita, coming to that space of oneness is when we reiterate, when we iron out all our lives, everything which is happening in our lives, everything which is happening in society, when everything is ironed out with that one understanding of Advaita, we can save society, come out of this dysfunctional setup which we are currently living in.
Nithyananda Maharaj, is there just one more moment? I'd share just one more concept.
Yes, Sri Nithyananda, please go ahead. But be sure to keep it short. We have only a few minutes. For all our viewers, everyone watching us, Swamiji himself is going to be coming live and addressing all of us today as a part of the Nithyananda Satsang. So please stay tuned. Sri Nithyananda, please go ahead and share what you wanted to share. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. Yeah, the only other thing is, if we look at planet Earth, there's a lot of beings coming here. And so what planet Earth is, it's an ecosystem. It's an environment where beings come to live. And so we have to say, okay, well, what are we reproducing for the beings that are coming here? And if we're not recognizing that beings are coming here and passing and going somewhere else, the environment we should be providing should support that, the longer reality, not just the few years that beings are here. Naturally, if you're going to a meeting, you would want that meeting to support the rest of your life, not to destroy the rest of your life. So the beings coming to planet Earth, we need to have the perspective of, okay, where are those beings coming from? Where are they going? What do they need? Let's support that. If we're not, then actually the ecosystem environment we're providing on planet Earth is actually destructive. So if we're killing the beings, if we're killing that life, if it's a life negative destruction of the purpose of life that is the environment we're creating on Earth, then it's actually destructive and death and life negative that we're creating for the beings coming here. So that is actually, we need to look at that. What environment are we encouraging on planet Earth for the beings that are coming here? And why are they coming here? What do they need? Because if we don't look at that bigger perspective of a longer term thing than just the 20 or 60 or 100 years that you're here, if we don't look at the bigger perspective, then the perspective we're providing is life negative and destruction. If you're not saying, yes, come to our meeting at planet Earth for a few years and we'll help you on your journey, then your perspective is naturally saying this is an end. And if you're treating Earth as an end, then you're ending the life. It's a destructive thing. So this is a unique contribution from Swamiji and Sanatana Hindu Dharma and Kaya Kalpa.
Yes, thank you so much, Sri Nithyananda. So actually we have a few more minutes until Swamiji joins us for the Nithyananda Satsang. I wanted to actually ask Ranoshan. Ranoshan, at the beginning of today's segment, you said that this science of Kaya Kalpa Yoga was something which is very close to your heart. So could you explain a little bit more about that? How the Kaya Kalpa has affected you, or how has it helped you in your life or in the life of a near and dear one to directly? Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. There's one, I can almost say like a feeling connection with Kaya Kalpa is that it's almost the detox of the sound component of you. Detox of the very Shabda Nada, or the Shabda Tattva. The very base on which the sound, the vibration starts to happen on you. Or I can even say in simple terms, kind of like the inner chatter, like the very base of the inner chatter itself. And the strong feeling connection with Kaya Kalpa starts to happen when I really start to look in and seeing, okay, what is the being of Paramashiva? And how can we express this to each and every individual? How can we make it very user-friendly and easy? And really the space of the Mano Mauna, the space where the detox starts to happen even on the level of sound, even on the level of Shabda. When this starts to happen, then actually all the auspiciousness starts to happen. When the very, I can say the core fabric out of which you're made is detoxed, then everything else as a ripple effect also gets detoxed. Automatically you start eating right, you start doing yoga, you start enjoying the puja, you start going through the whole organic lifestyle. And so personally, what I feel is the science of Kaya Kalpa Yoga, if everybody at least has a taste of it, the whole life would be different. If the very base on which you exist is detoxed even for a second, your whole life is changed. Nothing will be the same. If even this space is touched for 1 second, everybody has some experience in life where it was a life-changing moment. It wasn't something that something builded up to it. No, it's always something that in that moment, it changed the whole life. And experience from here is this science of Kaya Kalpa. If you taste it even just for one moment, the space where just for that one moment, even the sound component of you is detoxed, just for a moment, then the whole thing shifts. And so, yes, it's just a space where personally, I can say in my life, I felt that when I was able to experience a space where even just for a moment, this complete, sincere listening space was there. That what, even it was just for a few months, the sincere listening space was there. After that, the whole life was different. The whole life was like, what is actually life? What is actually real? What is not real? Is everything that I'm seeing not real? Like the whole seeking started to happen just from touching this one space of the soundless space. As soon as that started to happen, then the whole path started to happen. Then the whole journey started to happen. But it was just that space where you take it taken away from what you're seeing as it is. And from there, then the real life starts to happen. The real exploration of life starts to happen. Like Shri Nithyananda was sharing, was the very reason you come down for the body, some purpose. It's a transition.
Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham